my name is Tanya George, and this is my Tremorz interview.
Essentially, I normally always start off with like, how did you actually get into like music?
Yeah. So I was a vocalist always first and foremost. So I started in Australian Girls Choir when I was really, really little. My mum put me in there because I wouldn't shut up, basically singing around the house. And then from there, I sort of grew up a little bit and I grew out of the choir situation, and I really wanted to sing pop music. I really wanted to just sort of be a contemporary singer, as well as jazz, as well as sort of opera background training. And I begged my mum for private lessons. So she put me in private lessons when I was about 11 or 12. I think I sent her a very overdramatic text message, which was like, Mum, if I don't sing, that's it. I don't want to live. Like, really, that's how she knew that I would do it for the rest of my life when I was begging. Yeah, and then I started playing in bands as I hit when I was a teenager. And then I just sung all the time, and I tried to be involved in as many sort of open mics and stuff like that. I used to go underage to bars and stuff to just play gigs without them knowing, and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, it just sort of developed from there. And I started doing stuff like busking a little bit when I was 15, and then I had a huge break. I didn't do it again until I was about 24. Yeah, and then it stuck again because I think I played so many sort of shows and festivals, and just was a bit, wanted something new and wanted something challenging, and busking's really challenging. So yeah, I sort of dived back into that world, and it just sort of taught me a whole new realm of sort of techniques and things I could use with music via street performing. So yeah.
And you use a lot of your voice. You essentially only use your voice.
Yeah. Yeah. So that project, the whole vocal looping idea sort of sprung from busking, because I couldn't afford all my new, like, to buy all these new instruments as well as to carry them all down. It was just too heavy to carry all that equipment as was. So yeah, I just decided, oh, I've got a looper sitting around, I should use it. And then I don't know, it just came so naturally and organically that I just went with it. And then something about it that I think is so raw and touches people so quickly because it's all made out of the voice. People feel it. So yeah, it just stuck, and here we are.
There's like your favorite gig that stands out since then?
Gosh, there's been so many. I had a really fun night on my last one of my single nights that sold out at Horse Bazaar in the city. That was a really fun night. Everyone had the best time, and it was like a moment where I felt like everyone in the room was just buddies as well. Like, people, like, there was probably one of those gigs where maybe 75 to 80% of the people that came, I didn't know, I hadn't met, they weren't friends or family. So seeing like all these new faces and followers, and seeing and feeling like I've developed was a really cool moment. And just like how diverse and amazing people are. Like, I just was so rapt that I just had everyone from all walks of life at my gig. Like, it was just like, all cultures, all different, just, oh, it was so cool. Like, a couple of homeless guys came from the streets from busking. Like, they came to the gig because they obviously heard me saying it, and they would, it's just like, yeah, a real cool moment where I realized that my audience is just such a mixed, yeah, a mixed audience. Is just the coolest feeling. So yeah. And then another gig would have been the International Jazz Festival that I played. Yeah, it was amazing too, with Jazz Party and Tando, Horns of Leroy. Yeah, that was an amazing gig. I met Mr. Don Was, who was the CEO of Blue Note Records America.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was just like, I got to meet you, and we got to hang out. And then he introduced me to Herbie Hancock and Herbie Hancock's whole band. And I was like, this is so surreal. Like, yeah. So I've had some pretty cool moments like that along the way.
So how were like your first steps when it came into like moving into the music industry itself? Like you went from busking to like, okay, now I'm going to like be releasing content. How did you approach that?
Yeah, so God, good question. I guess I think of the music industry slightly different to a lot of other people in terms of mind frame. So a lot of people have this urge or this feeling to make it or break into the industry, and I strongly believe that that's not a thing. You know, how do you define making it, and how do you define success, and how do you define breaking into an industry? I think if you're a musician and you're practicing and you have a community around you and you're engaging and you're jamming with friends and you're learning and you're growing and you're releasing music, that's the music industry. You know, there's no sort of red carpet that rolls out in front of you and tells you that you've made it or that you're in. Like, yeah, it's about just hustling and working hard and creating, like, you know, totally leading and living and speaking and breathing a creative lifestyle. um yeah, so I sort of always had that mind frame that as long as I was doing music, I was successful and I was happy and I was doing well. But I do a whole bunch of things to make music work for me. Like, it's not just about releasing music, it's about, you know, mentoring other people and busking and playing those festival gigs, but then playing the smaller intimate shows, and then, you know, doing interviews with amazing people like yourself, and yeah, and trying to constantly find other areas to you know, being in the studio, doing session work, doing vocal work, writing top lines, vocal loop projects, videos, whatever it may be, applying for grants. Like, you just got to stretch out and make every possibility a possibility. Yeah, and just believe that you're in the music industry and this is it. You know, if people come to your shows and you release music and you play gigs and you sing and you write and you, that this is it. You know, this is how it works.
Do you have mentors?
Yes.
Someone that you always, yeah, people that you always go to?
Yeah, absolutely. So Tommy Spender has been an amazing friend, mentor, and human being and a brother to me from the start. So he did Sonder, my first EP, with me, and we just became best buddies years ago. And yeah, we've just sort of, he's just always been there for me and he's helped me through so much and kept me really strong. I also have worked with Dallas Frasca in the past too, and she's an amazing, powerful, just incredible hustler woman, incredible human. Like, she's just so amazing to learn from and be around. And yeah, and then I also have my singing teacher since I was like 12, the one that I went to, um, Julie Edwardson. She's also been an amazing mentor and just someone to talk to all the time and kept me really, really strong in the game and as a woman as well, in the industry when I've hit ruts or I've hit issues. She's really helped me to be strong and to understand that, like, it's all a learning curve and to, yeah, not to let it get me down or defeated. Yeah, so she's been amazing. And her advice to me was, uh, you know, don't listen to everyone. It's you can't. If you listen to everyone, you'll just keep taking 10 steps back every time you take 1 or 2 steps of progression forward. So just pick your 3 mentors or your 3 people you trust in this industry and listen to them for the advice, and base your next move off those people who know you, who love you, who understand how you work, who know your vocal range, who know your style, who know your personality.
You said when you hit like you know, speed bumps and stuff like that. What are there any like you feel issues that you've always had or that keep coming, or problems that you wish uh, wouldn't occur or shouldn't occur in the music industry? Are there things that like pain points?
Yeah, absolutely. We've still got a long way to go. We've got a lot of sort of, you know, issues in our in our industry and grey areas and stuff. You know, I first and foremost, like, I was a really, really heavily and bad and sort of stressed out. I was a massive anxiety sufferer for years, and that really affected my, yeah, just affected me and everything I did. So I really struggled at one point in my career because it looked like I was a super happy, confident. I'm very confident on stage. So people sort of may take confidence in, you know, some people think confidence can be an attitude or whatever it might be in a stage presence, which is totally cool. It's fine. That's the whole point of it. Beyonce has it. We all have that, you know, that grit or that grind when you're on stage. But off stage, I'm actually a really gentle, quiet, anxious sort of loving human. So sometimes that's interesting because people don't know what you're really going through or what happens. So I've, you know, suffered really badly with real bad anxiety for years, and sort of was doing this battle between being a front woman and having all this, you know, kind of power, and then being at home and just struggling mentally with everything and keeping up with myself and keeping up with my schedule and keeping up with you know, making enough money and eating and everything. So that's definitely a thing. The balance has been a challenge in my life, and I also suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. So yeah, a lot of people don't know that about me, and I haven't spoken about it openly, but I think it's important as I get older so people can understand you more, you know. And then being a woman in the industry has been, I'm lucky because I am tough and strong, but there has been incidents where you're just like, what, we're so far, we still have, you know, so far to go. But at the same time, I don't think there's never been a better time to be a female in the music industry as well. I'm still I guess learning to be so open about it, because I've been so conditioned or learnt, as women we've learnt to sort of let it slide a lot. So, you know, I mean, a perfect example was one time I was playing a gig, and I won't name where or whatever because it's all they apologized. We had a bit of a chat about it, but I was playing with my band and we're having a great time, and it was a great gig. It was packed, and the manager of the venue came over, and we sort of gave him a, hey, how are you? And, you know, this is the amazing blah, 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 who runs blah, blah, blah. And my band, who was behind me, saw this man grab my ass, just moved his hand from behind my back to my butt and just hold it there and grab it. And I was like astonished at first. This man had had a few drinks, but my band saw it and they were just like, oh my God, like, you know, just straight away, like in front of everyone, like, but no one at the front can see, you know, so it was only behind. And I think that was the first time my band sort of also realized the sort of slyness of, or sneakiness of stuff that I've been through as a female in the industry.
I mean,
And
I just don't get it, like, personally, but that's I don't know how.
yeah, and we had a big chat, and we, you know, that person apologized, and, you know, we sort of broke it down a little bit. Yeah, and just I'm not a very cutthroat person. Like, I like to actually have a conversation and break it down with people rather than just, you know, slamming anyone. I think it's important to just make people understand what's going on in terms of, like, from all angles, you know. So yeah, but there was a serious conversation about it.
Well,
But yeah,
would have been, I hope it was more than serious. They're like, yeah, I don't know.
it's, yeah, I mean, this is stuff that not just goes on in the industry. It's like a, you know, this is all the boundaries and things that we're, as humanity, we're trying to break down. We're trying to go through, trying to learn, we're trying to talk about, including, you know, racism, and including topics that we, you know, we haven't had proper open conversations with, or been, you know, forced to have sometimes as well. So it's good, we're moving and we're learning and we're growing as a society. But there's, you know, there should be no tolerance for anything like that. Yeah.
Agreed. Is there, do you have any tips yourself? I know your mentors have given you tips, but have you come up with any that you think you would pass on to someone?
Yeah. Oh gosh. I think the most important thing is to remember who you are and make sure you have a support network around you who also know who you are. I definitely ran myself into the ground trying to do absolutely everything myself at some points of my sort of career. And I think it's super important to make sure you have the support network around you, whether it be other musicians, someone that can help you with admin and manager stuff, publicists, yeah, just a friend that can help you with merch or organizing stuff or proofread a bio. And yeah, just so it doesn't feel like you're carrying the whole backpack, of life and artistry and creativeness and emotions and personal life on your back. So making sure you've got someone in the mental health team that can help you, a good doctor, and create your community around you that help you get through not just music but life.
Do you feel like there's issues on how the industry is structured? Like, for example, the platforms that are used, or I say this coming from, I don't want to target Spotify, but it's the streaming industry and how we've changed in terms of like artist remuneration, stuff like that, which I found pretty lousy. But yeah, I don't know how it is from your perspective, because you're the one creating that art, and at the end of the day, you need like 2.1 million views to, make a salary.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, look, there is some, and these are the sort of earlier on. There's heaps of grey areas in this industry still, and I think the biggest issue I'm seeing at the moment is the gap for, like, there's a massive gap for emerging artists, in terms of emerging artists trying to keep pushing through and pushing forward when something like COVID happens. They're in a growing stage. So if you take away the gigs, the live performances, the busking, the ways that they can try and get out there, what more do they have to grow on? So only, maybe they've only got 1,000 followers on their Instagram over a year. How can they get more followers? How can they reach a newer audience? It's like a sort of dead end street there. It's, unless they start paying hefty advertising on social media and Facebook and Instagram, they might not have that money. They're trying to put that money into their music, and they're trying to invest into their next moves. Or so I feel like Spotify and I feel like these sort of streaming platforms are great in some areas, in some ways, but then they're not in other ways. How are we gonna how are musicians gonna, and creatives gonna make money from releasing music, is sort of my big question, that aren't famous and well-known people. It's so cool and fair, like that Taylor Swift and Tones and I and all that, like, they can find and see a check from those Spotify plays. But when you drop it back down to emerging artists, when they've put thousands of dollars into a track and they've done the best they can and they've pushed it out the hardest they can to their following and their people, how are they gonna see that money in return, is the big question.
If you make it big, or make it, as you say, if
Yeah.
if you get to a point where every time you go on stage you can have one demand, I would say, a megastar demand, what would you ask for?
Gosh, that's a great question. If I ever got big, I would love to make sure I could bring all my friends and family to every tour and every show and everywhere I went. So it was just a big party the entire time. That's what
Actually, bonus question. Do you have, what would be your 3 favorite artists locally, so in Melbourne?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, it would definitely come down to being Blasco, of course, one of my best friends. I've got an amazing artist, put that aside. P Unique, she's awesome. I don't know if you've ever heard of P Unique, but she is great. She's an upcoming, amazing artist that you should keep your eye on. Yeah, and then the third one, gosh, there's a few. I love Tando. We've been friends for a while, and I just love who she is, and as well as her voice. And also Mojo Juju, who's also changed her name to Mojo. She's incredible too. So yeah,
we'll keep an eye out for them.
Thank you so much for watching my interview. My new EP Normality is coming out, so you can find it on all platforms, Spotify, iTunes. You can also find me on Instagram and Facebook, all the social media platforms. And yeah, hope to see you there.